Panic has now hit the crypto market, especially as we do really kind of look at the last 30 days. We could see the big spike up to almost $4 trillion for the global crypto market cap. And now we are trading just around $3.3 trillion. Now, what has caused the recent panic in the market? Well, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be addressing it. So with that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's dive on in. Let's talk about a few things. Let's start off with the overall market because Bitcoin has been chopping, Ethereum has been chopping, and almost the entire altcoin market has been chopping as well. And this is due to the fact that number one, we have been ranging. We have been consolidating since basically the beginning of December. We've just been waiting for something to happen. And now what we are actually starting to see is a lot of panic around Tether. If we actually look at Bitcoin, this is what the chart looked like leading into Christmas. I mean, ultimately, we were trading at almost $100,000, and then boom, we sold off. And then it started to spike a little bit more, and then we sold off yet again. Now, one thing that I will say, on the monthly, we are still holding the higher lows, which is good. We have yet to make a higher high, so we're still focused on that when it comes to bullish structure. But I am more so looking at the lows because now that we're so close to creating potentially a lower low, this is where all the focus from my point of view really is. But even if we look at Tether, we can see that this thing has been going through a little bit of I don't want to say a depegging, right? Because again, it has lost its $1 peg. Sure, it has, but we know that this has happened many times over. Even just in the last year, it has happened. But this is now happening in real time due to the fact that a lot of people are actually transitioning from holding Tether to holding USDC, or they're investing their Tether into Bitcoin. They're just getting rid of their Tether. Now they're doing this because of MiCA. But we are also hearing a lot of FUD. I have to admit, we are seeing a lot of FUD around Tether. I typically don't play into it. Listen, I'm not a big supporter of Tether. I actually think that Tether is a big Ponzi scheme in disguise. I've talked about it on multiple occasions. But is Tether about to be gone overnight? Is it gonna, go to zero overnight? No, I don't believe so. But a lot of people are kind of making the argument around that. For example, over here we have USDT will crash on December 30th. In 3 days, Tether will be delisted from all EU centralized exchanges. In 2022, FTX and Celsius collapsed, market went negative 70%. So, we're now hearing about the doomsday calls around crypto, that Tether's going to implode and take all of the market with it. I want you guys to understand that there's actually not a lot of EU centralized exchanges in this market. They're not massive. Just so that you guys know. In fact, some of the biggest markets around crypto right now are the Asian markets. Even if you look at the centralized exchanges and you look at like Binance, for an example, majority of the volume on Binance, and most of these exchanges, I should say, are coming from the Asian areas. And this is due to the fact that, the crypto market has always been big in the Asian markets. But is that going to change? I do think that over time it definitely will start to kind of be more, equal when it comes to like the EU and the US and, things like that. But right now, we know that the EU market, it's not that big. It really isn't that massive. So the whole idea that this is going to cause Tether to go to zero or collapse overnight or anything like that, it's a lot of hyped up FUD in my opinion. But does this begin the focus on Tether? I do think that it should. I think that as we really look at Tether, we should focus on the facts, which is outlined in this post, which is the fact that Tether has promised a full audit. And this goes back to 2017, by the way. Ever since 2017, we have yet to actually see any of their promises morph into reality. And during this entire time, you can see that there has been investigations. There has also been settlements, right? For an example, Tether paid an $18.5 million fine. And this was This was a big one because it did also force them to cease trading activities in New York, which is a big strike when it comes to Tether operating in the US legally once we do start to see regulations flowing around the US. And this is where we really kind of start to think more so in the future. What's going to happen to Tether when we have stablecoin regulations in the US? We know that Tether can't trade in New York. So what's going to happen then? We don't know. It's still, up in the air. Again, Tether has a lot of negativity floating around it, which is why we are starting to see such FUD and negative posts around Tether during this time with MiCA almost here. It's definitely something that I have been watching for, but, we are definitely seeing a lot of this blown out of proportion as well. Europeans pay attention, your USDT will be illegal. Basically, Tether is non-compliant right now in the EU. And on the 30th, yes, we do see a big update around MiCA, which I will talk about. But I want you guys to understand that diversifying outside of the USDT, it should always be recommended. I never hold all my eggs in one basket. This goes for cold storage wallets. This goes for anything. I'm diversified when it comes to investments. Everything should be diversified no matter what. And the same goes for, stablecoins. I don't hold 100% in Circle. I don't hold 100% in Tether. I hold, multiple stablecoins. You never know what's going to happen. But all of this is floating around MiCA. And when we look at the MiCA papers, right, this is the full-on implementation timeline. We have from September 2020 all the way up to December 2024. Now, on December 30th of this year, the rules start applying in full. That means that the remaining parts of the rules will start to apply. But what happens next? Is everything in effect and all of a sudden Tether's done? No, this is going to take time. In fact, we actually have, and this is from the ESMA full-on website. If we look at this, this is the transitional timeline. Here we have December 2024. Entry into application of MiCA. Transitional measures, grandfathering, and simplified procedure apply in those member states who opted in entities and participating. Member states may apply for the simplified authorization procedure in Act 1436 until July 1st, 2026. So basically, the full transitional phase is going to take 18 months. During this time, they have to start basically preparing for MiCA fully. They have 18 months of a window to basically become compliant as well. So that means that Tether has 18 months starting after December 30th. So a lot of this definitely is FUD, but we still look forward to seeing what's going to happen going into the future, right? What's going to happen down the road? Is Tether going to be compliant? Nobody knows. We have no idea. But everyone should be focused on the full timeline. We cannot just go over to X and say, all right, well, that's it. Tether's done. Because a lot of this definitely is engagement farming. Even this post here is engagement farming. But there's a lot of great information within this as well. Tether definitely does not have the best history around this space, which is very clear. But we even have over here from 22 hours ago, the EU silence does not make USDT MiCA compliant, says executive. And this is following that 18-month phase in MiCA's total 36-month timeline. And the implementation phase is ending on December 30th. We know this. If we actually come down here, there's some great information within this article as well, which I think everyone should be looking into. EU regulators have not said whether USDT is compliant with MiCA, but this doesn't mean stablecoin is not seen as a non-compliant in Europe, according to a member of the MiCA Crypto Alliance. No regulators have explicitly stated that USDT isn't compliant, but this does not mean that it is. And we have down here, Coinbase's decision may reflect a proactive approach to avoid last-minute compliance risk or regulatory uncertainty, a precautionary approach, meaning this is why Coinbase basically delisted Tether. Again, I think that they're just preparing for this. They know Tether's passed as well, so it would make sense, especially if you are Coinbase and the size of Coinbase. So again, just makes sense. But we have here, we look at the December 30th date. The question is whether all exchanges will delist USDT at once, whether it will be progressive, or whether some will play a wait and see game, expecting statements from the regulators. Now, one thing that I will say is that I think everyone should prepare for the worst case scenario, because there's definitely going to, be a lot of FUD, and there's going to be a lot of impulsive decisions made throughout this entire time frame. But the big thing that I'm looking at is I'm just looking at the full on timeline here, because they even mention here that, yeah, it's going to be implementing transitional measures. And this is going to provide basically all of the entities involved here are going to be providing crypto asset services. They have to make sure that they're compliant. They have to make sure that they're going through this transitional phase to meet these regulations. So as we really think about what's going on here, we have 18 months. During that 18 months, we don't know what's going to happen with Tether. We don't know what's going to happen in the market. But at that point, we should have regulations in the US around stablecoins. So we're definitely focused on that. Again, don't play too much into the FUD. I do think that the market may see a little bit more volatility just from this, because again, we know how the retail markets react. They act impulsively. But the big thing that I'm really kind of looking at is RLUSD. We know that RLUSD is fully regulated, it's compliant. Even here, we have a full breakdown from Cointelegraph. We have RLUSD versus Tether, and even versus USDC. We could see the collateral backing is much different on all three. We could also see the regulatory approval is a little bit different here as well. And we know that RLUSD is tradable in New York. We know that it got approved by the New York Department of Financial Services. And we know that this is a stablecoin that you can trust. It's something that, I would feel comfortable if I were to choose just one stablecoin to, park my money in. RLUSD would basically be that, because we know how liquid Ripple is. We know how strong their balance sheet is as well. So, this is a stablecoin that I feel is trustworthy in this market. But at the same exact time, we also know that 2025 in the US, things are going to start to change. Stablecoins are going to be a big priority, and we know how big the US market is for crypto. If we start to see Tether being delisted in the US market, then I would be very concerned. Right now, it's in the EU market. The EU market is not as big just yet, but I do believe that we are going to start to see this kind of spiral. I think that's going to snowball. It's going to take some time, but this is something that we have to be aware of. And it's something that we definitely have to prepare for, especially as we do kind of start to transition to a regulated asset class, essentially. The bad actors will definitely be weeded out. And I don't want to say Tether is 100% a bad actor, but let's just say they don't have the best track record. And it's something that if I did have a lot of money tied to crypto, it's something that I would definitely be watching for every single day, keeping up with, because you never know what's going to happen. FTX, we knew that FTX was sketchy. We just didn't know that it was going to happen the way that it happened. Nobody prepared for it to happen the way that it did. The same goes for Luna, right? These things, they happen in almost a blink of an eye. So just be aware of this. Make sure that you have stable coins on the sidelines for any, major decisions by retail. You never know if we're going to see a major crash or anything like that, or a black swan. We don't know, right? So the best way to do so is having a plan in place, making sure that you have stable coins on the sidelines for buying the dip, and just being locked in on your positions, because you don't have to act impulsively to sell or anything like that. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.